Sumerian and Akkadian agriculture. The Sumerians and Akkadians. What does the mind recall when we hear the names of these once mighty cultures? Maybe for some, we remember the Sumerians for their contributions to written language and their libraries full of cuneiform tablets. And yet, maybe for others, the only memory that the word Akkadian evokes is that of a young Dwayne Johnson, who played an Akkadian soldier in the movie The Scorpion King.
Now prove it. Bring the woman to me! First man to touch her will have to come through me. I had hoped for nothing less.
However, what many people don't know is that these two ancient civilizations contributed more to the development of modern society than just their ancient languages and blockbuster movie ideas. The Sumerians and Akkadians gave us the ability to sustain a global population of 7 billion people and counting. How? The Sumerians developed early irrigation systems and experimented with land fallowing practices, which means that every other growing season they wouldn't plant their fields to allow them an opportunity to recuperate some of the nutrients they lost. The Akkadians developed sustainable ag practices that were suitable for the native arid landscape. While the Sumerians had a lot of access to water, the Akkadians didn't, so they had to use what they had wisely. Also, these civilizations were likely some of the first to start domesticated farming. Some of the domestication practices, in particular, are what kept their communities fed in the Sumerian and Akkadian civilizations, no matter what. Innovations within production agriculture allowed for the provision of food for thousands of people. This caused the creation of massive civilizations, which was a new and unusual feat for the historically nomadic races of the region. 3 of the particular crops that were domesticated and which are credited with the immense population growth of the area, are domesticated einkorn wheat, emmer wheat, and barley. Now let's take a closer look at Sumerian agriculture. They had an overabundance of moisture in their soil, which resulted in high water tables, meaning that the salt that was in the soil always rose to the top, which suffocated and drowned the plant. Because of this, they developed careful monitoring, observation, and utilization practices that used seeds that were more saline tolerant, and it was necessary to prevent yield loss due to the saline-rich soils. They also had complex primordial canal systems, which siphoned water from the Tigris and Euphrates rivers and was woven into the very fabric of the city itself. Next, to help us take a closer look at the Akkadian agricultural system, we have a University of Arizona's own College of Ag and Life Sciences student, Miss Mary Kate Barrett.
The Akkadians created a system of production that relied heavily on the dry farming, plains, agricultural, pastoral, and settlement systems. Preserving their water sources and utilizing crops that didn't require an abundance of water were a few of the strategies that were employed to maximize their food output. Domesticating animals that were better adept to fare the hot and dry climate of the area also played a vital role in sustaining and eventually growing the civilization's newly populous cities.
Next, we'll be having 2 more guest speakers who will comment on the agricultural and social change that was brought about in the Sumerian and Akkadian agricultural systems.
In both societies, we see for the first times the reconciliation of demand with resources and a market community that had to come to terms with the moral and social costs of doing business. These revelations were very complex, considering these groups were the first few civilizations to become productive enough to experience them, and their mark can still be seen on many modern agri-science and economic policies and questions of today. For the Akkadians, a new reliance on pastoral and agricultural products emerged. This new demand inflamed a desire to acquire more land and resources to fill the growing needs of the population, which most notably led to the Akkadian conquest of the Habur Plain area. Here, an amplification and extension of agro-production was established.
Those are excellent points, ladies. Thank you so much. Also, if we turn and look at the Sumerian civilization, we'll see that the abundance of agricultural goods created a flourishing market, and that led itself to the creation of a newfound dependence on the Sumerian merchant, which itself was a new concept. The merchant's job was an important one. It distributed, leveraged, bought, and sold agricultural goods to the community, which meant that it was in the middle of what made life tick, food, which also meant that it was at the forefront of many social conversations. They usually either set or heavily influenced social standards, and a big question that always plagued their society was, what is the cost of doing business, and what is the justification for that price morally? This was the first instance that we saw of a typical westernized market. Nothing gold can stay, like the golden eras of these civilizations. The Sumerians met their fate because of the oversaturation of their fields. They had unmanageably high water tables and intolerable soil salinity, which were caused by crude, leaky canals and the high content of silt from the source rivers. For the Akkadians, it was the 4.2 Ka event, which resulted in severe water shortages across the world that reduced usable Akkadian production lands by 80%. Sumerian and Akkadian agriculture experienced extensive and impressive milestones at the apex of their existences between 5000 and 4300 BC. These cultures are hailed for contributing to the birth of modern agricultural innovation and experimentation within Mesopotamia. In addition to both groups' implementation of crop domestication, Akkad in particular utilized domesticated production animals to maintain product efficiency within the arid and dry conditions of the northern Mesopotamian area. The Sumerians, on the other hand, utilized a crude but effective canal system, which for a time provided irrigation to lands across every corner of their civilization. Not to mention their observational practices set the standard for modern agricultural observation and research today. Despite the apparent failures of these civilizations, the real value of Sumerian and Akkadian agriculture lies within observation. The study of these civilizations' environments, local climates, and a look towards their different solutions to agricultural production problems has provided modern agriculture with the foundational blocks necessary to build an ever more efficient production process. The key to cultivating as much value as we can from these societies' experiences is to have a personal desire to understand the perspectives and environments of their world. Understanding will breed knowledge, and knowledge is essential in the creation of the next big solution, or the next big technology. After all, Sumerian and Akkadian agriculture is to modern agriculture what the telegraph is to the cell phone. Without the establishment of one, the other would have never existed at all.